Good afternoon, Mr. Scott. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Really good, really good. So, what brings you in today?
Well, I'm a little frustrated and want to see if you can help me out or talk me through it.
Do you mind if I take notes while we're talking?
Sure.
Okay, so feeling a little bit frustrated today. Okay, what kinds of things are you frustrated about?
Well, teaching. I was teaching construction for 2 years at a middle school, and I liked it a lot. I liked working with the kids. However, I seen a lot of safety concerns, and I had to remove myself from that position. I would love to go back to another school or anything, providing we get some help in the schools, and I don't know how to go about that.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we've got quite a bit to talk about here, so that's wonderful. Before we get started, I want to share some information with you, okay?
All right.
So, as a counselor, I have some rules and guidelines related to confidentiality, and I always like to share them right away in our session just so you fully understand everything. Everything we talk about in this room and in our meetings is completely confidential. So you can feel like it's a safe space and you can say whatever you want to say. Now, of course, legally there are some limits to my confidentiality, so I want to share those with you up front. If you were to disclose to me that a child or an elderly person were being abused, in the spirit of it being part of my job to keep everyone safe, I legally would have to share that information. Another scenario where I would have to share information is if you felt like hurting yourself or someone else, because then I'm trying to keep you safe. So I like to, help you understand that all up front. The only other scenario where I would ever share anything that we talked about is if there were a court order. And, I don't anticipate any reason why something like that was happening, would happen, but I just like to lay everything out up front. So does that make sense to you?
Sure.
Are there any concerns that you have about that?
No.
Perfect. In that case, I think we're ready to get started. So I'm going to try to restate back what your concerns were. So you said that you were teaching construction at a middle school and that you enjoyed it, you liked the people you worked with, and you liked the kids.
Oh, yes.
But that there were some safety concerns there and it just wasn't something that you could continue to do. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about those safety
Well,
concerns?
I imagine with all classrooms, it's classroom management.
Okay.
So, I've been to the classroom management classes, passed everything. I brought the stuff back to the classroom, and the classroom's fine. But when we move out to the shop, and then I have to get everybody in a small group and start doing the different projects and helping them out, you have power tools associated with it. Each group has different power tools, and that's where the problem lies. I need cameras in there, or I'd like to have cameras or an assistant just to help guide the students as I'm going to one group, because as soon as I turn my back to the rest of the class, chaos is going to happen.
So I heard a couple of really important things here. You did what you were supposed to do as far as getting the extra training. You went to the class, you brought what you learned back in the classroom, and it worked really well in the classroom.
Yes.
Okay, so that's important because that says that you do understand the classroom management concept. So that's really important to know. So moving out to the shop, and was there another scenario that you mentioned?
No, just moving out to the shop when you're doing their small groups out in the shop. You can have groups into, we have 4 tables out there. So you have 6 students to a table.
Okay.
And everybody has different tools because they're working different projects. Some might have skill saws, some might have table saw, band saw, routers, any type of power tools, battery operated or electric plug-in. And then at the end of the day, they have to, clean their stuff up, put their stuff away. We have 2-room crib where someone is responsible for issuing out tools and bringing them back in.
Okay.
Well, that problem lies in while all the tools are going and all you hear is noise. Someone's back there with a drill drilling holes in the wall, and you can't even, when you're looking at them, you don't see anything going. Smile, how you doing? But underneath it all, they're with their hand drilling holes in the wall. That is chaos.
Did you ever have anyone that got hurt with those power tools?
No.
Okay, so that's good. I am hearing something that I can see would be very nerve-wracking. Forgive me for, adding a word in there, but I feel like I'm understanding what you're saying. That you were worried that someone would get hurt. Am I understanding
definitely.
correctly? Now, you mentioned a couple of scenarios that would help. If there were cameras or an assistant. Talk a little bit more about those things. What would help with a camera and what would help with an assistant?
Well, cameras would identify who's doing it, when, and you have proof if you need to go back to them or the parents. Hey, little Johnny took a hammer and busted Sophia's doghouse.
Mm-hmm.
No, it didn't. It's right here on the camera.
Okay.
Undeniable proof. An assistant is another adult that would see. So it's not just me as Mr. Scott saying someone did it. An assistant would be able to validate that.
Okay. So it sounds like you've got two possible scenarios that would really help. What have you done with this information? Did you discuss it?
Oh, yes, I brought it up. And there was a team at the school, and we brought it up. We brought the principal in, and it was just something that could not happen. They said I had to figure out a way to change what I was doing, my routines, and figure it out. That the other schools aren't having this problem, so the problem has to lie within me.
Did you talk to any of the other teachers that held your role? Did they have similar issues?
No, they said from day one they set their expectations and they never have any problems. And I was like, I did a reset. You only can do one reset in a school year. I did that and told them if there were any issues, that person or group would be removed from my class.
Okay. I just heard you say something that I wasn't real familiar with. A reset. Only one reset in the year. Just tell me a little more about that. I've never heard that before.
A reset is if your class is getting out of control, and say you come back from Christmas break and they need to, they're all over the place. Basically, a reset is you're starting from day one again. Hey, remember my rules? What they mean? You spend that day going over them. And they're like, oh yeah, we got to go back to doing these rules again. That is a reset.
Okay.
But you can't do that every day. You can't do it once a month. You can get away with it one time during the school year. Other than that, they won't have any respect for you and won't do anything. But if you put in there that you have, you're going to be removing students from the class because they're not behaving, it's not call the parents, let's see what we can do. It's, hey, you're putting other children at safety, you're putting yourself at safety, you're automatically removed. That's my call. And I was told that was my call at the beginning of the school year. So far, I've removed 4 students.
Okay.
And they have begged to come back, said they would change, and I said, no, you had your opportunity. You can find you another job. That's the way it is in the real life.
Okay, that makes sense. So let me again try to kind of summarize, make sure I keep everything straight in my head. So, we talked about where the problem lies, and it's not in the classroom. You felt like you managed that really good. It was when we went out into the shop, okay? And you mentioned some real safety concerns, some property damage. You mentioned the drilling the holes in the wall. You said you went to the classroom management and you did a full day reset. These are the rules and expectations. This is what we have to do. And that you even removed 4 students from the class.
You don't do it the full day is for all the classrooms. That means, for all my classrooms. It only takes about 10 minutes to do the reset, and in the beginning of the class.
Oh, okay.
You go over it, and it's done. You don't want to preach them on that the whole class, then you've already lost their attention.
Okay.
They're ready to move on.
Thank you for the clarification. I obviously didn't understand.
But I'll do
part
that
of
the
it.
whole day for all the classes.
Okay. So I'm glad you said that. So it's about 10 minutes of a what period?
A 40 to 50 minute period.
Okay. Okay.
Some have longer classes due to lunch and
Okay. So when we're looking at this problem, where are you right now with this problem? And I asked that question because it sounded like, I kind of want to go back to where you began. It sounded like you had this problem, you tried a number of different ways to resolve the problem, and then you decided, I don't want to do this anymore. But now you're coming in and we're talking about it. So where are you right now with this problem?
I'm still waiting to see what changes they've made, if other people at the school or the new instructors have different ways, maybe going in there and just watching them, seeing, but I would like to get a position back doing it. I love working with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, they will, you teach one day, this is a power tool. The next day you teach them how to take it apart, clean it, take care of it. Then you introduce small steps on how to use it, different things with that. You model it around the classroom, you let them get hands-on, but it's only one person at the group per table that can do the hands-on while you're watching them, and then they all rotate. And then after they successfully know how to take the batteries out, take the bits out, they identify the bits. If you tell them I want a number 2 Phillips, they know what that number 2 Phillips is. If they grab the wrong one, then we have to repeat that.
Okay.
I do that for 27 bits. I'll say the bit name, and they have to pull it out of a pile
Mm-hmm.
and identify all 27 bits.
And they were successful with that.
Oh, yes.
That's really kind of exciting.
We do a block with screws, and you'll have a total of 27 to 30 screws in each block. Some of them will be the same bit. Well, they have to figure that out. And they actually, on their test, they have to identify 1 through 30 and label what bit it was.
Okay. I want to go back. I've been kind of thinking a little bit in the background about something that you said. You said in the classroom management was good. Have you ever considered teaching something other than shop, or was it teaching shop that you really loved?
It was teaching shop.
It was teaching shop. Okay,
Yes.
So then there'd be no reason to,
The projects and the things, and I see that they want to build, but you've got the few in each class that want to be, I just want to be here and be disruptive.
Mm-hmm.
That if I can sling paint on the walls and the floor when nobody's looking, I'm going to sling paint.
Mm-hmm.
If I can take a hammer and bust some walls, I want to bust walls. That's the type that they need to be pre-screened before they come in, are allowed to come into this class.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not there to be pre-screening them. I know now they allow the construction teacher has to pre-screen them all the previous year
Okay.
so that they can attend class, because pre-screening is a big part of it.
Okay.
If you're disruptive in another classroom and you're all over the place and you can't listen for another teacher, why are we going to put you in a class with power tools?
Okay. Yeah. That's a very valid
Unless
point.
you can prove power tools calm you down, because now you get to do something with them. But if you're just there to be there, you're going to be disruptive, and that's going to hurt the other students in the class as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very valid point. Absolutely. Did you teach shop for 1 year or 2 years?
2 years.
So going back to that pre-screening idea, did you pre-screen the students for your second year?
No,
Oh.
it wasn't until the second year that started.
Ah.
So the year after I left, they started pre-screening them.
But there was a new teacher there?
Yes.
How did the new teacher pre-screen them?
I had to pre-screen them for that because I was leaving, but I had to do the pre-screening for the new teacher, and I did my recommendations. Now he still had to go back and talk to him and find out, but I did the recommendations on who should be in class, guaranteed, no problems, or the ones that might cause you a problem.
Okay. So, did year 2 get easier than year 1?
It did.
It did, okay. Do you feel like if you had gone back for year 3 with that pre-screening process, do you feel like it would have been easier in year 3?
I think it would have. But at that time, I was still wanting cameras or an assistant, which funding will not allow an assistant. There's no funding for cameras. And then there was more legality stuff on having cameras.
I can see legally, like, of course, I couldn't have a camera in this room because of the confidentiality thing. And I think legally it might be that same kind of thing in a classroom. Actually, I've heard from other educator friends that it's more about protecting the teacher.
And that's exactly what I heard. And I said, well, I'm not worried about protection for myself.
Yeah.
Actually, I am. And that's why I want the cameras.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So the funding won't allow for an assistant. I'm not really sure. I don't know a lot about the culture of the school that you were in, but do you think that you might be able to get parent volunteers to come in and help?
That would be hard because you'd want a parent volunteer that understands all the shop safeties and can utilize the tools so that they can help the other groups, unless they're just standing back, just watching, being a mentor.
Yeah. Would a mentor, like, I'm just a counselor, but let's say, I have Wednesdays off or whatever, and you need a parent, and I'm not offering this, I'm just being very hypothetical, but, I'm off on Wednesdays, and you needed a parent volunteer. I know nothing about power tools, but I know all about kids.
Right.
And so if I were going to come in and, just kind of be a mentor, circulate around, make sure they're being safe, would that be helpful, or it really wouldn't?
No, it would, as long as you knew what to watch for you. They're using tools. Are they wearing their safety glasses? Are they wearing gloves when they need to be wearing gloves? That's stuff you can watch out for. Little Johnny, you're not wearing your gloves. Y'all need to put your safety goggles back on. Your earplugs need to be in when you're using these tools. Stuff like that. That's just, and then step back and watch them.
Okay, so that would be
I think it would.
Okay, that's good. I wasn't sure myself.
Because
so
you could even stand back and watch everything that's going on. If I have to turn my back and help this group, be like, hey, this is how you use this tool. All right, let's go ahead and start back again. Y'all are doing a good job. All right, go to the next group. You could still be sitting back there monitoring everything that's going on. I go to group B, and now you see group A starting to cut up. Mm-hmm. You could say something, or you could go get my attention. Mr. Scott, group A is acting up.
Okay, I'm going to put down volunteer mentor to help me remember that, because it seems like that might be, impossible. So what now? We've talked about why the camera wouldn't be a possibility. We've talked about the volunteer mentor. Has that teacher that replaced you, has he left that position?
No, he's still there.
Oh, okay.
I've reached out to a couple friends that work at the school and just asked them how he's doing, how the classroom's doing, and they've made a point that they wish I was back there. That made me feel good, but at the same time, they said he's getting it, but he's struggling. His background wasn't as thorough working with tools and all this as he thought it was. Mm-hmm. So he's having to learn the material or study it the night before he presents it. I can go in and just grab the stuff and I already know what I'm going to teach.
Okay. What are you thinking if he were to leave the school? And I know he's not left the school. He's still there. So this is, again, purely hypothetical. But if he were to leave that school, is that a position that you would want back? Or is it just something that you kind of wanted to talk about a little bit?
I just wanted to talk about it, and now that we talked about it, I figured I want to see if I can volunteer at the school, maybe 1 or 2 days a week, or on certain days that they have projects. Because I'm already qualified, go out there and see what the kids are doing. Now, all the kids I used to teach are gone. They're in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So me showing up will be like a brand new guy. They have no idea who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Introduce myself, I don't want to overstep his boundaries, but at the same time, I can sit back and observe, and then him and I can discuss stuff at the end of the day on what went on with the different classrooms.
Okay.
That would be a good interaction. And then if for some reason he steps down and I take that role, I would want someone else to fill that mentor role,
Mm-hmm.
just on even certain days.
Okay, I can see that. So if you decided to do that, to volunteer 1 or 2 days per week, you would get that fulfilling part of the job without that legal responsibility part of it. Is
Yes.
that kind of what you were thinking?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I just want to see the kids succeed, and watching them learn a new task or a skill and then apply it and build something. It's amazing watching them grow in that.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's really exciting to hear you talk about that. I see a little bit of smiling in your
Yeah.
eyes, and that's really cool. So we're coming near the end of our time now. Yeah, I know it happens so fast, doesn't it? So I'm going to kind of go through. When we first started, you were talking about this job that you had for a couple of years, that there were parts of it you really liked. You liked the people you worked with. You liked working with the children. You were real comfortable with the content, but you were scared somebody was going to get hurt and that you would legally be responsible for it. And then you kind of talked through a couple of proposals to kind of alleviate some of that worry, which was the cameras in the classroom or an assistant. The cameras in the classroom couldn't happen for legal reasons, and the assistant couldn't happen for funding reasons.
Yeah.
So you backed out. They hired a new teacher. You've reached out, and they said that they wish you were there because you really did understand the content knowledge in a way that the new guy didn't. And so then we kind of came up with this idea about a volunteer being there. But instead of that position being available, what you've really decided is you'd like to be that volunteer for this new teacher. Did I get that right?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Is that something that you're going to kind of move forward with?
We'll have to see.
I would be really excited to follow through with this. And
That depends on the staffing there, the principal, and if the new teacher wants that.
Yeah, that's a
It's
very
if they're
valid
comfortable
point.
with it.
That is a very valid point. Will you reach out to see if that's a possibility?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, because then you'll get the positive part without the part that made you really worried. So
Yes, definitely.
I would be really interested to see how this plays out for you. I don't feel like we need to meet weekly, but could we come back in a couple of weeks and kind of follow up on this?
Sure.
I would love that. I really would. I'm so glad you came in today. I've really enjoyed
All right,
talking
well, thank
with
you. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Scott.